So one thing that really inspires me is when I see other people, tell stories about their journey, about, their experiences, whether it's with weight loss or anything else in life. I love hearing people's stories. So, I decided to be completely open with you all and, show that I am human by telling you my story. So I work in the fitness industry. I'm a fitness practitioner. I manage over 150 clients. So I'm seeing people on a daily basis. And when I talk to people now, they, look at me, see where I'm currently at. And, people make comments like, oh, you don't understand how it is. You've always been fit, or, things like that. Because, the perception of trainers, the perception of, people in the fitness world is that we were born like this. We were just born with, chiseled abs and, toned up arms. But that's not the case for a lot of us. So, pretty much just to kind of tell you my backstory, I played college basketball, at a pretty high level at a school in Huntsville, Alabama. And, I was in pretty good shape. I wouldn't say the best shape. I could have been in better shape, but I was in pretty good shape. Playing for hours and hours a day, playing games, and, I was in good shape. I can't say I was in bad shape. But after college, I stopped playing ball as much, decided to, hang up the shoes and get a real job. I started teaching, moved to Michigan. And that post-college weight started to come on because I wasn't, exercising as much as I was in the past. And, life kind of just set in. So once I started teaching, being in Michigan, if you're from up north, you've probably heard of, seasonal affective disorder, or, was it winter depression? Some people call it different things. I had never heard of it. So going from, the South in Alabama up here to the North in Michigan, it was a huge change. I experienced winter for the first time in my life. And, I started to put on that winter weight. So a year goes by. And I would still work out, once or twice a week. But because I wasn't being forced, I wasn't playing basketball, I had never really, I'll say, set in or settled into like a good workout routine. So I started to put on the weight. And in college, so I'm about 6'3", decent size. In college, my playing weight was at about 220. So I was, pretty stocky, pretty solid. So I went from 220. And in a year and a half of being in Michigan, I went from 220 to 260 pounds. So that's 40 pounds that my body was like not comfortable with. My body was not used to. And it started to make my back hurt. My knees were hurting. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, I have to do something about this. So I stopped teaching. Taught for a year. And, was faced with a dilemma. Do I move back down south? Do I stay in Michigan? Met my wife here. So I decided to stay in Michigan, and I took a job as a trainer. And so training was what I had done prior to becoming a teacher, but I needed a change of pace, was starting to get burned out with training. So I decided to go back to it. So you can imagine going back into the, fitness world, being 40 pounds heavier than I was before, and jumping into a job that required me to be super busy, managing clients, not really having as much, not having as much time for myself because of all my responsibilities, the common excuse that most of us make. But yeah, I just was not taking care of myself. So here I am, 40 pounds heavier, knees hurting, back hurting, just all these problems that I had never experienced before, and not really knowing what to do because my time wasn't there. So I decided, this year, and it's so embarrassing once you get to a certain point and you realize, oh my God, what have I done? I've allowed myself to slip, and just put on weight, and you're just uncomfortable in your own skin. So I got to that point and I said, okay, if I don't do something about this thing could continue. And I'm, pushing further and further towards that 300-pound mark. So here I am, 260, 40 pounds heavier, in a job where I'm in a gym all day. I have the ability to work out, but, just adjusting to a new job. So I decided, okay, let me stop making excuses and, really get this weight off. So this is where, the question that I'm asked often about, how did you lose weight comes into play. Because again, I have all this knowledge, went to school for this. It's my job. I teach people how to get in shape. I teach people how to live a healthier life. So I know the information, but knowing and doing, that's two different things. And oftentimes they don't connect if your mind's not in the right place. So, here I am with all the knowledge, the facility, the ability to do it. I decided, okay, let me buckle in, strap on my seatbelt and let's get this thing going. Well, I'm over here knocking over stuff. So I decided I'm going to give myself 8 weeks. Give myself 8 weeks. I'm going to hit it hard and, just see what happens. Really, really dial in and get this thing going. So, my first thing that I decided to do, I wasn't about to jump into any crazy diets, crash dieting. I'm dropping my calories super low, anything like that. One of the things that I've learned through school and experience training people is, the principle of protein and how important protein is in the diet. So the first thing I did, I sat down and I decided, okay, what types of protein am I going to focus on? I wanted to make sure I had a game plan. How am I going to attack this? I decided what kinds of protein. So the things I came up with are things like Greek yogurt. What was I eating? Man, I'm a creature of habits. So I was pretty much eating the same thing over and over again. And it was whey protein. I like the whey protein powder that I get from myprotein.com. It's excellent. I think the flavor I have right now is salted caramel. I was getting salted caramel protein powder. I ended up getting some protein cookies from myprotein.com, and I was eating chicken breasts. I was eating turkey, like deli meat. I was eating Greek yogurt and then eggs. Those were pretty much my primary sources of protein. And I was just cycling through. So for breakfast, I would have like yogurt and like 2 or 3 hard-boiled eggs. For lunch, I was having, grilled chicken or baked chicken or some type of chicken. And I'm a sauce guy, so I was throwing sauce on it. Usually some mild, wing sauce from Kroger. So I was eating chicken for lunch, and then for dinner I was doing, a mixture. I would sometimes throw in like tuna, but pretty much my goal was to hit protein at every meal, and not just a little bit. I was like banging out the protein. So before I was eating anything else, I made sure I knew exactly what my protein was. And within the first, I'll say 2 weeks, I was down at least 5 or 6 pounds just by focusing on protein alone. So once I got my protein together, I literally almost immediately started to feel better. I was, staying full longer, whereas before I was getting more hungry, like in between meals, was staying full longer. And just feeling better, wasn't as bloated, which really, really helped kind of build my confidence. So the second thing I did, after I figured out what my protein was, I realized that, okay, I'm not eating enough fruits, I'm not eating enough vegetables. And if I'm honest, I was probably eating vegetables once or twice a week, and that's terrible. Most of my food was processed. I love chips, so I was eating a lot of chips and cookies and things like that. But I decided, okay, now that I have my protein, I need to figure out what's my fruit gonna be and what's my vegetable gonna be. So for breakfast every day, I made sure I had fruit, and I decided that I didn't really know how to pick fruit properly for the season. So I was doing smoothies. So I went to the store. They have this place out here where you can buy like big old bags of frozen fruit. So I was buying bags of frozen fruit, pouring in some orange juice, and throwing in half a scoop of whey protein powder. And I was making a fruit smoothie for breakfast. So that was my fruit intake. So the fruit smoothie with the eggs and the yogurt, I was getting a bunch of protein. I was getting at least 30 to 40 grams of protein with my breakfast. And then I was getting my serving of fruit, and I was good. Sometimes I'll throw in oatmeal, but the focus was fruit and protein first. Then for lunch and dinner each day, I made sure that I was getting at least 1 to 2 servings of vegetables. So I would have, a salad with my chicken for lunch. And then for dinner, I was having like steamed broccoli, or, I would go to the store and buy those steamable bags. You can buy like the big bags from Sam's Club of steamable vegetables. And I was eating those, pretty much every day at dinner. And that sounds mundane, but I found ways to spice it up. I was, finding like garlic sriracha to throw on it, different seasonings I can try, and, keeping it fresh that way. So again, just to recap, I was focusing on my protein first, figuring out what that was going to be for the week. Then I decided to figure out, okay, where am I going to throw in fruit and where am I going to throw in vegetables? So fruit was for breakfast and vegetables was for lunch and dinner. And when I tell you guys that once I focused on eating those 2 or 3 components, fruit, protein, vegetables, first, I didn't really have any room left for the bad stuff. So in a way, I wasn't counting calories. I didn't care about counting calories. I really just focused on food quality, and that completely pushed out, a lot of the processed food and a lot of the junk food. And I still, on the weekend, Saturday was like my cheat day. I wasn't doing a cheat meal. I was doing a cheat day. And some people, have heard of it as like a refeed meal or refeed day. I was doing a whole day because I was pretty solid throughout the week. I was drinking about a gallon of water every day on average. So, making sure my water balance was good. But when I say after 8 weeks, I was down, no, I'm not like exaggerating, a solid 30 pounds. Like, it was crazy. And again, I didn't calorie count. I wasn't on some crazy strict diet. Like, literally, I wasn't following a diet plan. Like, my focus was, okay, how can I get more protein in? Because protein is going to help, maintain my lean mass. It's going to keep me full longer. How can I get my vegetables in? That's going to give me plenty of, nutrients that I need. And it's also, really rich in fiber, and I made sure I was eating fibrous vegetables, and that's going to keep me full longer, so I wasn't snacking as much. And guys, it completely changed the game for me. So I haven't even talked about exercise, but if I'm going to be honest, I was exercising maybe, and I don't want to exaggerate, I'm going to be completely realistic and honest with this. I was exercising maybe 2 or 3 times a week for about 15, 20 minutes at a time. And the majority of my exercise was the elliptical. I like watching YouTube videos. How ironic. And I was, pulling up my phone, setting it on the elliptical and doing like 15 to 20 minutes, just to burn extra calories. But guys, when I say the weight just started melting off, it was crazy. Like, my body had been used to burning at a high level from playing basketball. Once I started feeding myself the proper way, the weight was falling off. So, there's no real trick to it. Like I said, got on the scale earlier today, and I'm finally down to 229. So I'm down 31 pounds total since I started. And I'm just now getting back into really like lifting like I need to and, just handling my business. But, I needed that initial bump just to get, confidence, just to stay encouraged and see that I was on the right path. So, my encouragement to you is make sure you sit down and have a plan. Like, don't just go into this thing, blind. You want to make sure you have a plan, and your plan needs to be, centered around protein, vegetables, and fruit. And my thing is, mix it up as much as you want to. If you're a creature of habit like me, you can keep it the same if you want to, but make sure you're getting plenty of protein. And honestly, I'm going to say protein with each meal. If you have to snack, find protein bars. You could do protein, 1 scoop of whey protein. Like, try to make your snacks high in protein. But, and a lot of times there's a myth out there that, eating too much protein will jack up your kidneys. And studies have been shown that unless you have like a pre-existing kidney issue, that's not a problem as long as, your kidneys are healthy when you start, you're drinking enough water and getting enough fiber in your diet, you're fine. So that's not something to even really worry about. Again, before you get on a high, I have to give this disclaimer, before you get on a high protein diet, make sure you get your kidneys checked out. So, but as long as your kidneys are fine, you're good to go. But yeah, just make sure you're focusing first and foremost on protein, fruit, and vegetables. And my thing is, if you can get enough of that in and you still have room for the other junk, then you're just a bottomless pit, because that stuff should fill you up. And focusing on that first does something for you psychologically. You're not, being restrictive. You're not saying I can't have the other stuff. It's, I'm going to focus on this first, and I'll have some of the other stuff after I eat, my initial stuff. But because you're so full, you don't even have space to eat as much of that. And you're going to see that weight just drop, and drop. So hopefully this is encouraging to somebody else. Like I said, I like hearing people's stories about how they, went from point A to point B, or they may have fallen into a hole and gotten themselves out. Kind of like I did. Like I said, you never want to get to the point where you're just disgusted with yourself. So if you're at a point now where you're kind of heading in that direction, grab hold of the reins. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like I said, focus on one thing at a time. My first focus was protein. I got on a good protein, I'll call it a schedule. You know, making sure I was balancing it out, switching up my protein sources, chicken, tuna, eggs, yogurt, you know, keeping it fresh so it didn't become so crazy. But even if you do keep it the same, find different spices. Like I said, try and find a way you can spice it up that, you know, will be interesting and keep you locked in, man. Because I'm telling you, if you can grasp this concept and again focus, I'm gonna bang it into your brains. Wow, that sounded really bad. I'm gonna push this into your brains. That didn't sound any better. Anyways, I'm gonna drill this home until you guys get it. Protein, fruit, vegetables, and water. Those are the 4 components that you need to focus on, and everything else, like I said, is irrelevant as long as you focus on that first. So hopefully this was encouraging to somebody. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, man. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know about your weight loss journey. If you have, you know, questions or, you know, comments to share about, you know, your experience, I would love to hear it, man. Would love to connect. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching. It's your boy. I'm gonna holler at you guys later. Peace.